All right, let's bring out Chelsea, now an activist for Emily's List, comedian, host of her eponymously titled talk show on Netflix, now streaming episodes for its second season. One of our favorites, Chelsea Handler. There she is. We get that ready for you. How are you? Great to see you.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to bring some positive energy, and we're going to get excited about what happened in Virginia, what happened in New Jersey.
Yes.
We had a lot of good news. We had a lot of women elected.
It's true.
So we have to focus on that. As you said earlier, it's the resistance, but there were women who, out of the 16 women that Emily's List sponsored, 13 won and got elected in the Virginia House of Delegates, which is incredible. We had our first African Americans elected. We had our first Latinas elected in that state. We had our first transgender person, woman.
Yeah.
Already screwed that up. And we had our first Asian American woman elected to the Virginia House of Delegates. So it is an important time, and there are things to recognize that are happening. The world is getting browner and gayer, and everybody needs to hop on. So it's exciting. So there are good things happening, you know? I mean, it is a devastating circumstance that we're in, but there are good things happening. So we have to kind of hold on to that hope, I think.
My first question. Well, I was going to ask you what's going on with you, though. Before we get to all that.
I just can't fucking take it anymore. That's what's going on with me.
We care about you. You're not doing your show anymore. You're more of an activist now.
I have to be. I feel like, you know what? Wow. I have money. I don't have to work. Right. I can spend my time trying to get women elected. We need women in office.
We do. And so, well, first of all, I think Elizabeth Warren really has to run for president. Yeah. That's the woman, especially at this moment.
By the way, Elizabeth Warren is somebody that Emily's List recruited. They took her and said, you should run for office.
Right.
Yes. So, okay. I mean, this is a great organization for anybody who wants to support women to support.
So 19% of the House is, only 19% of are women, and 21% of the Senate. But women vote. Why don't they vote for themselves?
Well, I think that we had, I mean, this is my personal opinion, and I think we had a thing where women have a problem supporting other women in powerful, situations. They don't have a problem electing a predator, but they have a problem electing somebody who stayed with a predator. You know what I mean? Like with Hillary, it was like, well, we can't elect her because she's with, but they don't have a problem electing the man. So it's almost like there's a backlash on women that don't support women. And now that we have this maniac in office, I think women are like, oh, shitski, oh, this is not what we planned on. I think the backlash that we're seeing now with the sexual harassment and everything is the reaction to Trump being the president of our country.
But he still won white women.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and that was after the Hollywood Access tape. Do you think the is child molester with Roy Moore different? I feel like that is a litmus test. No. Talking about truth, that is a litmus test for whether Fox News and that crowd can make something just not be. Because Roy Moore's attitude about everything is, well, she's lying, or that yearbook is a forgery, or it's fake news.
No, he's Godzilla blaming Tokyo.
Right.
He's literally saying, oh, well, Tokyo was asking for it. What do you expect? Yeah. No.
But there's a big difference between somebody taking accountability and responsibility for an act and somebody giving blanket denials and then accusing their accusers of lying and then, pretending they're going to sue them. On what grounds, I don't know, because when there are more than one person that comes forward, then you take that seriously. I agree with you on Al Franken. I'm sorry, he's not a predator. We all know, anybody who's met him knows that's not true. He made a mistake, absolutely, but he is not a predator.
And also, I feel like we've lost our ability to think in this country, to tell unlike things apart. Yeah. There's a difference between zero tolerance, we have zero tolerance of that, and maximum punishment. Does everything have to be, we don't have that for murder. There are different grades of murder and other crimes, not for this.
I think that the focus on the punishment and on what the repercussion is going to be is where this conversation goes wrong, and I think it's largely steered by a media that immediately after a picture is published says, do you think he should resign? Like within 3 hours, somebody has to, right, the media sets up the conversation. It is not the women telling the stories who are coming for these guys' jobs directly. In fact, many of them are going, I don't know, I don't know what it means. But the focus on what the punishment is going to be is also on some level an easier conversation to have, because then we get to fight about it. Should he resign and we all go to our partisan battle stations, than actually looking at the more difficult conversation, which is that it is about the whole culture. It's about the culture that empowers white men to abuse their power in a million ways, from the villainous predators to the fact that there is a sense of humor that we all understand in this country, that if a woman's asleep, it's funny to grab her tits, and that a man can gain power and stature and a place in the public sphere by profiting from that comedy. That doesn't make him the same as Harvey Weinstein, and it's not about him. It's about reckoning with the fact that we make that culture, we participate in that culture. It's our good politicians, it's our friends, it's our husbands, and it's ourselves. That is a harder conversation to have, and it's the one we should be having about this moment, not should he resign and will a governor appoint it?
You're absolutely right, but I think that is the conversation we are having. I think we're deciding, like, okay, now it's becoming, there's a tipping point happening. This is happening everywhere. What are we going to do about it? What are the repercussions? Going to sex rehab in Arizona at the Meadows, is that going to fix Harvey Weinstein?
Right.
But,
I mean, no.
Is there a larger problem that we have of not being able in this culture to look at things contextually? To make distinctions in our politics, in our views of gender, in all kinds of questions, the inability to recognize context as the all-important aspect of the truth. Facts strung together individually are not necessarily the truth.
And that's the internet age. And everything has to be a soundbite, a tweet.
Everything we're talking, and this
they
goes
don't want
to
context.
It goes
they
to
want
the Trump
clicks.
presidency. It goes to media. It goes to the questions that we're discussing here. And it also means, in the case of Trump, there is a possibility that after this special prosecutor, if he's permitted to finish his investigation, it's possible he won't find a conspiracy. But yet there will be, one would hope, a report that puts everything into context. That's what we lack on a daily basis in our culture.
Can I ask just about the politics, though? Because I take your point, and I think it's valid. But it is kind of important who's in the Senate right now. I mean, that's why they're willing to put up with maybe a child molester to get the vote for the tax cuts. That's how they play the game. I'm not suggesting we go there or that far. But Al Franken can't be in the Senate. We don't need his vote, because we do.
We do need his vote.
We do need his vote on things that affect millions and millions of people. So we can do two things at once. We can have the...
Of course we can.
Okay.
Of course we can. My complaint is with the fact that it immediately goes to the question of what the... It's,
But lots of people just wrote that or said that.
Yeah,
they just...
It's
people
like when they go on TV and they say to Trump, oh, will he fire Bob Mueller? It's like, don't say that. Don't give him any fucking ideas.
but here's...
add, gravity to it.
But it occurred to him first.
But to me,
I don't think he needed to put that idea in his head.
What I heard from people who were making this argument yesterday was, well, we have to get rid of Al Franken, because otherwise it's a push. They're going to say Al Franken, we say Roy Moore. And this is what Democrats always do. They shrink from making the counter-argument. Instead of going there with, oh, well, we can't win this, we're just going to go away, let him resign. Make the counter-right. Do what I just did in the monologue. Say, he's not the Zodiac Killer. It's not the same thing.
And Al... Democrats should be able to point out that Al Franken's reaction is to begin an investigation into his behavior, and that given that, not to give him cookies, that's correct, that's a good response. We should also have an investigation into the 16 women who've accused Donald Trump.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But Democrats, I haven't heard anyone make that point.
Well, the culture, listen, this is what I was saying earlier was the reaction to women voting for Donald Trump, the reaction of women voting for somebody who admitted on tape that he's a sexual predator. He admitted it, was bragging about it. They went and voted for him, and that after effect, I think, that pendulum of looking at what they've done, I think has led to this. I believe that. I think women are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Not to call out Fannie Lou Hamer from the Civil Rights Movement, but women are just like, oh my God, look what we did, and better late than never. You know,
Right.
I want women to stick up for each other and look out for each other and never facilitate any Harvey Weinstein bullshit like this again.
Yeah, but this has to be this has to be a long game that we have to play, a cultural long game. Because we don't want to find ourselves in the exact same trap we found ourselves after Obama. Because right after Obama got elected, suddenly everybody was spouting that we were living in a post-racial society.
Right.
Which is bullshit. It took us 400 years to get here.
Right.
And we can't say suddenly we're living in a post-sexist society, because remember, while all this is happening right now, we're talking about this great backlash, people are speaking up. The #2 movie in the country is starring Mel Gibson. All right, so let's not pretend this is going to go away overnight. This has to start with our kids, what we teach them, how we teach little girls to fight back, how we teach little boys to respect girls. This has to be a long cultural game that we play for the next generation.
Okay, can I bring up one other aspect of this, which is...
Before you say anything, I just want to go on the record and say that I'm currently dating Mel Gibson. So that was fucked up that you just did that. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I forgive you.
Well,
Daddy's Home 2 forgives you, too.
Oh, really?
I almost was going to ask you, how's it going?
He knows I like older men. Not that old. No offense, Carl.
It's okay. I can take it.
I like you.